People say ChatGPT is magic. It's not. It's a kitchen apprentice named Ming, a wall of 4,192 judgment dials, and one loop repeated 1,000 times. In the next 12 minutes, I'll show you exactly how it works. No formulas, no code, just a kitchen. Imagine stepping into an omakase restaurant for the very first time. Pretty intriguing, right? You're greeted without a menu, and the host leads you to a counter seat. The chef gives you a nod, and just like that, the magic begins. Dishes start rolling in. First, you've got some fresh sashimi, then something warm, followed by a zesty bite, then a rich flavor, and finally something light to cleanse your palate. It's like each course is perfectly timed, almost as if each dish was meant to follow the last. And by the time dessert hits your table, it dawns on you. You never once thought, this doesn't belong here. It's like the whole meal was curated just for you by someone who seems to get your preferences, even when you can't quite put them into words. Now, here's something that's been bouncing around in my head ever since I read a post by Andrej Karpathy, the OpenAI co-founder and ex-head of Tesla AI. How does the chef know what to serve next? I'm not talking about a seasoned chef with decades of knowledge. I mean, how does any chef figure out the right order of courses for a complete stranger they've never met before? There's no rulebook in sight and certainly no memorized catalog to fall back on. It's kind of mind-boggling, don't you think? Believe it or not, the answer is Ming. Have you ever seen a kitchen like this? Meet Ming, a kitchen apprentice with some pretty wild gear. First off, he's got a wall that's not just any wall. It's got 4,192 small physical dials, stretching from floor to ceiling. And, of course, there's a single wooden counter. Oh, and let's not forget about the 32,000 complete omakase sets he's got to study. Talk about a culinary playground. Now, about that number, 4,192. It's not just some random figure thrown in for dramatic effect. Nope, that's the exact parameter count from Karpathy's 200-line code. Each dial represents a tiny morsel of learned judgment. Like, how much does that fancy third course really impact the fourth? Or how does a seafood starter steer the rest of the meal in a new direction? And what about texture contrast throughout the whole set? Altogether, those 4,192 tiny opinions form Ming's entire culinary intuition. That's pretty impressive, right? Imagine this. Ming kicks things off with all the dials just totally whack, set to random spots. But by the end of his training, those dials end up capturing something that's pretty close to a master's taste. And that's how ChatGPT operates, folks. No metaphor here, this is the real deal. Imagine this. Ming doesn't have a single recipe in sight. Crazy, right? What he does have is a mind-boggling 32,000 complete omakase sets, all meticulously jotted down in order. Take Emma, for instance. It's made up of 4 courses, E, M, and A. Or how about Sophia? That one's got 6 courses. But here's the kicker. There are no explanations as to why one course follows another. No flavor descriptions, just a whole lot of sequences. Now, why is that sequence so crucial? Well, think about it. Serving the same 4 courses, say sashimi first and dessert last, totally flips the experience. It's like that old saying, dog bites man and man bites dog use the same 4 words, but they mean something completely different. Direction matters. Dig into enough sequences, and you know what? Something pretty cool happens. Your intuition just kicks in. It's like you don't even need a manual. The rules just sort of reveal themselves. Now, when we look at ChatGPT's version of a portfolio, it's not just about 32,000 names. Nope, it's the whole internet. Think about it. Every book, every article, all the conversations, and tons of social media posts. Trillions of sequences that get processed in order. Same idea, just on a mind-blowing scale. Ming? He's not just memorizing stuff. What he's really doing is developing his taste. Pretty neat, huh? Imagine this. Before Ming can really dive into anything, he's got to convert food into numbers. Take the word Emma, for example. It gets chopped up into little bits, starts with a service bell, then comes E-M-M-A, and wraps up with another bell. Each bit is what we call a token, basically the tiniest piece of the kitchen puzzle. Now, here's where it gets fun. Each token gets assigned a number. Like E is 4, M is 12, and that service bell, it's a 26. So the Omakase Emma translates to 26, 4, 12, 12, 0, 26. Got it? But hang on, just slapping numbers on things isn't quite enough. A number is like a name tag. It tells you what course it is, but it doesn't really capture what it's all about, does it? Every number has a flavor profile card, kind of like a menu for its characteristics. There are 16 slots detailing things like richness, temperature, texture, and acidity. Now, when training kicks off, these cards are just a jumbled mess. Think of it as random noise. But as the training process rolls on, running that loop time and again, those cards transform into something meaningful. Now, here's the fun part. Every word you type into ChatGPT goes through a similar journey. It starts as a word, turns into a token, then becomes a number, and finally gets matched to a flavor profile. That's how a machine starts to wrap its head around language. Pretty neat, right? This is where the magic really happens. Ming is constantly grappling with one big question. What's the next course going to be? Let's say the set Emma is in full swing. The first 3 courses are on the table, and now course 4, another M, is just coming out of the kitchen. It's Ming's call to figure out what course number 5 is going to be. No pressure, right? Let's talk about the 3 stations you'll pass through in this course. And trust me, the answer pops out on the other side. First up, we have the Sous Chef Roundtable. It's basically the spot where we take a trip down memory lane, reflecting on everything that's led us to this point. Then, we move on to Station 2, the Back Kitchen. This is where Ming gets to flex his own ideas. He really thinks for himself here. Finally, we hit Station 3, the Final Vote. This is where we break down all 27 possible next courses and rank them by probability. And there you have it. That's the whole engine right there. Just 3 steps, and everything else? Well, that's just the details wrapping around these main points. Welcome to Station 1, the Sous Chef Roundtable. This spot in the kitchen is pretty unique because it focuses on previous courses. Right in the middle, you've got course number 4, and around it sit 4 sous chefs, each keeping an eye on a different aspect of the meal so far. First up, Sous Chef A is all about richness. She's flipping through her notebook, going, Course 1 was light, Course 2 was rich, Course 3 was rich. You get the idea. Then there's Sous Chef B, who's all about texture. She's like, 3 soft courses in a row. We definitely need something crunchy here. Next, we've got Sous Chef C tracking temperature, while Sous Chef D is handling acidity. Each one throws out a question. Which previous course really matters for what I'm looking at right now? The earlier courses, in their own way, respond with, here's my profile. If they seem like a good fit, they pass along all the details. If not, well, they get left in the dust. Here's a fun fact. The sous chefs don't ever go back to taste old dishes. Crazy, right? From the very first plate they serve, they've been jotting everything down in notebooks. With each new course, a fresh page gets added. This way, there's no need to go back and read everything all over again. It's like the kitchen's own memory bank. Super efficient, always available, and totally reliable. Now, what's the roundtable all about? Its role is to help Ming figure out which parts of the past really matter for the decisions he's making right now. Let's dive into Station 2, the Back Kitchen. Here's where the sous chefs really helped Ming understand the past. Now it's his turn to put on his thinking cap and do some problem solving. In the Back Kitchen, they've got a pretty unique way of tackling issues. First off, it's all about opening wide. Seriously, you want to blow the problem up in your mind, considering every possible angle you can think of, like brainstorming on steroids. Next, you filter out the nonsense. Anything that clearly isn't going to work? Poof! It gets tossed aside. The good options? They stick around for the next round. Finally, you compress all of that into something manageable, until you land on one solid conclusion. So remember, it's all about opening wide, filtering, and then compressing. Simple enough, right? Ever thought about how a round table and a back kitchen really serve different purposes? The round table is all about looking outward, asking, what does history have to say? Meanwhile, the back kitchen is a bit more introspective, pondering, what do I really think about this? They're like 2 sides of a coin, doing totally distinct jobs. But when they come together, they create a verdict that neither could achieve by themselves. And what do they end up with? A polished idea of what course 5 should be, all primed and ready for that final vote? Let's talk about how the diner rates the meal. If Ming was totally sure that the next course should be A, and it actually was, great. No penalty there. But if he thought A had just a 10% chance of being the right choice, and it ended up being right, ouch, that's a hefty penalty. And if he was feeling super doubtful, like giving A only a 0.1% chance, yeah, that's a massive penalty. This penalty, that's what we call the loss. The lower that loss, the better the cooking. Right out of the gate, Ming's score sits at a solid 3.3. Can you believe that? It's basically what you'd get if you just threw a dart blindfolded at 27 options. I mean, it's total madness. Dishes all over the place, no rhyme or reason. The whole training journey has just one goal. Knock that number down. Every little tweak, every plate, every single loop. It's all about pushing that number lower and lower. It's like their guiding light, their North Star, if you will. This is where it gets really interesting. Ming gets hit with a pretty lousy score, and now he's facing this massive wall of 492 dials. Talk about overwhelming. Testing each one would take forever. Like, we're talking years here. So, how does he even figure out which dial to tweak? Want to know how to solve a problem? Just trace it back from the plate. Picture this. A diner takes a bite and says, "Wow, that's way too salty." Now, Ming's on a mission to figure out where that saltiness came from. Turns out it all started at the plating station, but they didn't actually sprinkle on any salt. Time to dig deeper. Next stop, the back kitchen. They added soy sauce instead, and guess what? They based that on the profile for course 2 from the Roundtable discussion. Keep going and you find the root cause, dial 347, where the soy sauce intensity was set. This whole process? It's called backpropagation. You're tracing the chain of cause and effect all the way back to the dial that started it all. No guesswork involved, no fumbling around, just straight-up precise mathematical tracing, multiplying the factors at each step along the way. Pretty neat, right? Ever wonder how tracing works in the kitchen? It all boils down to just 6 cooking operations. Seriously, every step, every measurement, every station you see revolves around one of these. Combine, blend, reduce, extract, ferment, and of course, quality check. Now here's the real kicker. Each of these techniques can reverse itself like a culinary magician. For instance, combine can break down its influence when it needs to. Blend's got the scoop on how 2 ingredients played their parts. And quality check? It's like the detective of the bunch, knowing exactly which paths to trace and which ones to ignore. How cool is that? Ever wonder how simple adjustments can lead to big changes? Picture this. The tracing moves down the assembly line and it actually multiplies at every stage. You crank dial 347 up by 1, and guess what? The broth's saltiness jumps by 3. Then, if you bump up the broth by 1, the final taste shifts by 2. So, what's the grand total of dial 347's influence on the end result? It's 3 times 2, which gives you 6. That's the chain rule for you. No fancy calculus here, just straightforward multiplication on a journey. We've got 6 operations at play. No hidden 7th operation lurking around. It's all about total transparency in both directions. And honestly, that's what makes the entire tracing possible. Let's dive right into it. Cook, score, trace, adjust, rinse, and repeat. Every dish goes through this same old cycle. But here's the kicker, who's making those dial adjustments? It's not just Ming. Nope, he's got a secret weapon. Enter Adam, the Sensei. This guy isn't just about turning every dial equally. Adam's got brains and a memory like an elephant. He keeps track of the last few rounds. If the last 5 rounds all screamed, turn down dial 347, you can bet round 6 is going to be a bit bolder. Think of it like a snowball rolling down a hill. It just picks up speed instead of zigzagging around. Adam knows when to be gentle with the sensitive dials and when to get a bit rough with the stubborn ones. As they go through the training, his adjustments start off bold and then get super precise as they near the finish line. It's like he's tuning a fine instrument, making those final tweaks just right. You won't believe this. After whipping up 1,000 dishes, Ming's loss goes from 3.3 to 237. But here's the kicker that really gets me. He never bothered to memorize a single rule. Can you imagine? No one ever said, "Hey, don't serve 3 fried courses back to back." And no one explained that miso and rice go together like peanut butter and jelly. He just kept at it, running the loop, And those dials? They found their own groove, reflecting the patterns naturally. That's the essence of learning intuitively, folks. It's not about memorizing rules. It's all about repetition. Training's wrapped up. Adam takes a step back. And the dials? They're locked into their final spots. Now, real diners are in the house. Ming's about to whip up his very first omakase, and here's the fun part. He's not just following a menu. Nope. He's crafting each course based on those dial positions. It's like a delicious domino effect. The second course builds off the first, the third off the second. It all comes together in real time, improvised but with a touch of guidance from what came before. And don't forget about that one last dial by the kitchen door, the risk dial. If you keep it low, Ming will play it safe, always opting for the most predictable choice. It's solid, but let's be honest, a bit snooze-worthy. Crank it to 0.7 and you tap into that sweet spot where creativity flows without going completely bonkers. But if you really want to live on the edge, turn it to 1.5. That's where things get wild. He could serve up a masterpiece, or something that's totally off the wall. Karpathy's model came up with some pretty interesting names like Karya, Yaran, and Leole. They actually sound legit, right? Like you could bump into someone with one of those names on the street, even though they probably don't show up anywhere in the training data. Ming's not pulling a fast one here. He's just really good at picking up patterns and spitting out combinations that seem to fit the bill. There's no little fact-checker hanging around to double-check his work. When ChatGPT confidently throws out a reference to a paper that's totally made up or nails a specific date that never happened, this is the same kind of deal. It's all about that statistical intuition, minus any reality check. Imagine this. On one side, you've got Ming's kitchen, and on the other, there's ChatGPT. Ming's setup: just 4,192 dials, 32,000 records, one MacBook, and he only needs a minute to train. Now, flip to ChatGPT. We're talking hundreds of billions of dials, trillions of sequences, and thousands of GPUs all running at the same time. Not to mention, it takes months of training. Yeah, that's a bit of a difference, huh? You know, it's pretty wild when you think about it. We're talking about the same 6 operations here. Same 3 stations, same cook, same routine, that classic cook, score, trace, adjust loop. And yes, still the same Adam. The cooking principles? Totally identical. But here's the kicker, the scale is just off the charts. Now, ChatGPT went through a couple of extra stages too. It learned from human feedback to really hit the mark and become something people actually find useful. But, believe it or not, the core of it all didn't change. That loop? Still the same. It's like having the same kitchen but in a completely different universe of scale. Next time you hear someone rambling about how AI is all mysterious and magical, or worse, that it's going to take over humanity, just think about Ming. Picture this. One apprentice, a whole wall of judgment dials staring back at them. Oh, and 32,000 sequences to sift through. No guidelines, just cook, score, trace, and tweak. Do it over and over. And eventually, those dials start to settle down. That's when intuition kicks in. Taste? It evolves. Pretty wild, right? Intelligence? Not quite what you think. What we're dealing with here is more like a super refined statistical intuition, so sharp it feels like a sixth sense. But you know what really blows my mind? It's the simplicity of it all. Just 6 operations, 3 steps, and 1 little loop. And from that, you get something that can chat with you, break down concepts, spin a story, and honestly, make it feel like it's right there with you in the conversation. Can you believe it? Just 200 lines of code, 6 techniques, 1 kitchen. That's the whole of ChatGPT for you. No magic tricks, folks. Just Ming.